This was Keira the day that I picked her up, almost exactly 2 years ago. It's May 24th today, and this picture was taken on May 26th, 2011. I had been driving on the north side of Lethbridge. I was coming across the Canadian Tire A&W parking lot, and I saw Keira walking with her wing stretched out. Obviously, had been hit by a car. It was a really heavy, rainy day, and I jumped out of my vehicle and chased after her. She made a little bit of a run across some grass by the A&W and then collapsed, and I picked her up. I wrapped her in my sweater, and you can see here a bit of the damage that was done to her wing. She had bones sticking out. She had tendons torn off of the joints and sticking out of, you can even see some of the tendons here sticking out of her shoulder. She had flesh and meat just totally torn off and removed. And I picked her up and I brought her immediately to a veterinarian right across the street. And she was refused entry because she's a wild animal. So then I drove over to the west side to see my regular veterinarian for my dogs, and he also refused her because she's a wild animal. And I was told there that no vet will admit her because they're not allowed by law to touch the wild animals. I later found out that this is not exactly the case with crows because they're a non-licensed species, and in future medical episodes with some bleeding resulting from this wound, I was able to get her some medical treatment from veterinarians arguing the law. But in any case, on this day, no vet would see her, and so I took her home and I phoned my aunt, who is a wildlife rehabilitation person in the States, and she gave me instructions on how to try to help the crow. And so what we did was slather honey onto the wound, and then wrap it in gauze and wrap it in a non-stick bandage so that the wing itself was in its closed position, and then wrapped against her body so that she couldn't move it. And it had to stay like this for about 8 weeks while it was healing. And about, partway through that, we changed the bandages. I can't remember if we changed them only the once or if we changed them a couple of times, but in any case, for the most part, the wing was just wrapped during the 8 weeks. Afterwards, we took off the wrapping, and Keira was free to go in our house. We have a little apartment, bird cage, actually a big one in our bedroom that she's sleeping in the night. But during the day, she'd move out into the house, and you can see here, you'll see Derek, my magpie, up close, and then in the background, you'll see Keira on the back of one of the kitchen chairs. And this has become her favorite chair. Generally, like the kitchen table area is her area that she's claimed for herself, and she feels comfortable there because she's able to get down under the table really quick and hide if she's scared. And then she's got lots of perches with the chairs to work with, and she especially likes this one chair and this one perch. And from this perch, she launched into her own physiotherapy routine, which she has done every day for now 2 years. And what the routine consists of is she'll jump up and down on the back of this chair and attempt to lift her wing. And at first, her injured wing would not move at all when she'd do this. But little by little, she grew some muscle, and she made some muscle memory, and the wings started to lift little by little, until at the end of last summer, she had a trick she could do that she was very excited about, where she could hop up off of the chair and flap her wings and move in a 180 or 360 degree circle, um, and come back to land on the back of the chair. So this was big for her. This is a big breakthrough, and she did, you know, struggle with learning how to do that trick, even get that much off of her wings. And it even led to some injury. She injured her leg. She got pretty much a broken leg, and Mahoney and I had to cast her leg at one point to make sure that it didn't get any more broken than it already was. Bird legs luckily heal pretty quick, so she healed from this injury and was soon back in her physiotherapy, back on her chairs. In the kitchen, you can see the one chair that she really likes, the one in the foreground, is really worn on top from her use of it. And yeah, she's been there this whole while, and today there has been a huge breakthrough. Um, you can see the piano back behind Keira. That piano right in that area on the other side of the kitchen table is where our carpeting in the living room starts. And what Mahoney told me this afternoon was Keira hopped from the kitchen table onto our kitchen counter, which you can see here, walked across the stove, went over to the side with the sink, which she likes to go to the sink and look out the window. We got an open window there, and then she from that area by the sink on the counter, she flew across the room to land on the carpet somewhere in front of the piano. And this is huge news for Keira, um, who was only able to, you know, jump maybe 6, 8 inches off of the top of her chair, as far as we knew, um, in terms of using her wings. So this is a major breakthrough. I think part of it has been because this year we haven't clipped Derek's feathers, and she watches Derek. She sometimes mimics Derek. I mean, this picture here, you can see she's got this short, stubby tail. That's because she actually plucked her tail feathers, broke them in half so that she could look like Derek, because Derek's tail feathers were broken because he had clipped wings and he landed on his tail so many times jumping around that he broke all his tail feathers. So Keira snapped hers off too. This summer we've allowed Derek to, when his new feathers grew in, we allowed him to keep them, and so he's been practicing flying all over the house, and I'm sure Keira is very jealous. And so today she flew, and this is huge news. I hope that she's able to continue developing. I know that this summer her wing looks much better than it did last summer. Last summer it was still no flight feathers grew in, and it still had huge scarring. This summer it looks like she's got her flight feathers again now, and there's just a bit of scarring showing. The wing is looking much better, much more full, and yeah, she was able to fly, and that's huge news, because just imagine if in another year or so, if she can fly and we can let her back, you know, to be who she wants to be, because she's never been settled with us. I mean, she's grown to where she accepts us around and stuff, but she's still very scared if we approach her. She's a wild crow all the way at heart, and she would love to go back to being a wild crow out in the world. And if by some miracle she is able to have full mobility, you know, I'm gonna let that dream be realized, of course. Um, you know, I just feel very happy for her that she's able to fly across the room. That's a huge breakthrough, and so I'm hoping I'll get some footage of that if she continues to practice that. Um, for now, I'll leave you with a few minutes of Keira doing her own physiotherapy. This footage was from last August.